Well, having completed the hello section, it's about time that we go to the next section, and that is the about section. So I'm just going to have that commented out here. Let me just call it about section. So what comments will do is they will help you to understand your code, and even someone else who may wants to like edit or just understand your code may be able to easily do that because of the specific comments that you have added. So the first thing that we're going to do to get started is to create a tag called section. So this is one that is going to lap the whole of this about section. In that we're going to create the main container here. So within this we're going to have a shared container which is now going to have the about. So in this I'm going to have a h2. So here we're going to have the about me, and down here we're going to have the p tag, the paragraph tag, and this one is just going to have some information about you. So let me just type something here. So in this case, this is where you're expected to put everything about yourself that you may want people to know in regards to your education, in regards to your experience, in regards to what you do professionally. In my case, I'm just writing some dummy data, so don't worry about that for now. So before we proceed, I may want to just style this a little bit so that everything else now will be taking shape and we'll be able to see specifically what we are doing. So I'm going to include the following utility classes. So the first one will be a container. So that class just gives that specific container or div a width of 100%, as you can see. And so after that, the next thing that I may want to do is to have the max width. The max width should be at least extra large. The padding should be at least 6 mx out of the space of 12, and on large devices the p should be, padding left and right should be 8. On large devices the max width should be 7xl. Okay, so nothing much because that's just targeting the container, but I was expecting to see the padding change. Just a second as I try to see. How that is being compiled. Alright, so what I've just done is to learn this CLI tool that will like scan my template files for classes and build my CSS, because I felt like the CSS was not being built, and so that's why we are not able to see the results in real life. So I had to learn this line again, although we had learned it initially, but looks like it was not like learning in real life. So now that it's there, we can close that, and when we get back here we should be able to see what we have written now start to take effect. And so now I can continue to style these specific classes, or rather I can continue to add more utility classes now that they are being compiled, and so we should expect to see that taking effect or the CSS being built immediately. So let's try that. So here for the text we want it to be 7xl. So that's working fine. And so for the font should be bold, plus also we should have the text centered. On small devices we want the text to be 5xl. Okay, so that's fine, and now we can move on to the p tag, and quickly we have the max width of 3xl. MX auto just means the margin right and left, so we want that to be auto. For the margin top should be 4, text extra large, text center. As you can see, that's working very fine over there. So you're done with that specific part. That's where you're going to have information about yourself. And so now we can move on to the next thing. And so what I need to do here is that on large devices I want to have 2 columns, and on small devices I just want to have 1 column. So what I can do is that I can use grids. So what grids will be able to do is that they'll help you to be able to create rows or columns in a specific component. So like for example, if I may just take you to the tailor-made documentation, and here we just search for grids, you see we have the templates for rows and for columns. In our case we're interested with the columns, so when I tap on that, you see we have the utilities for specifying the columns in a grid layout. That's the template for columns, and how you're going to apply that is you're just going to use the grid hyphen calls, and then the n is representing the number of columns that you want, and so this number of columns will be equal in size. So practically this is how you're going to have it. So that's what we are going to apply it in our project here. So what I'm just going to do is below here I'm going to create that specific container, and it is this container that we are now going to have it in 2 columns. So before I add any content, maybe alright, so before I add any utility classes, let me just have the contents that we are going to have inside here. So we're going to have some shout divs inside these. So there will be 2. I expect this to be a div. So inside here we are going to have some 2 buttons. If I may just take you to the finished product, you realize that we have these 2 tabs here. Is helping us to switch between education and experience, and so those are the 2 buttons that we want to create here. So here we're going to talk about 2 buttons like so, and so the first one will be for education, and the other one is experience. I will be styling that in a second, but let's first of all have all the information that we need. So those will be the 2 tabs that we expect, but now we now want the content of those 2 tabs. So we're going to get out of that container that is holding the tabs, and we are now going to have the container that is going to house the specific the content for the specific tabs. So in fact this one I can give it an ID of tab 1, right? So for our tab 1, this is the information that we're going to have inside it. So of course the first will be the heading, in which case as you expect this will be education. And so now we are going to have now the content in an ordered list. So I'm going to have that UL, and then I'm going to have the LI. In this case let's just put 1, because now this data will be dynamic, so it will be picking everything from the database. So in this LI, the content should be styled in a specific way, so that way we are going to have some containers to help us to style the information. So the containers will be 2 like so, and so within this container we are going to have our header. So this will be the name of the education, if I may call it so. For example, computer science, for example. And so we can also have, say, the level, like is it a diploma, is it a degree, is it a what? So maybe here we can come and say it's a degree. Okay, so that will be the content of that specific first tab. And so because we need two of them, I'm going to have this printed into two, or rather duplicated into two, or rather I'm just going to duplicate it, just duplicate it. So when it's duplicated, now we have the second one there, and so we just need to change these to experience. And so for the experience, we are maybe thinking of having these with maybe graphic design. Okay, and this person has been doing the graphic design for like 6 years. Okay, so that information now appears here. And so now what we need to do is to first of all style it, and then later on we're going to make the two tabs work. So let's style that before we continue with anything else. So we'll start with the grid. So the grid was to come here, or rather should be here. So we talk of a class. Remember, this is mobile first, so when I just talk of grid, that means I'm just going to get one column, and on large devices I want two columns, so I'm going to talk of grid calls 2, and on the same large devices, for the gap between the columns I want it to be 8, and I also want the items to align at the center, that is on large devices, and the width generally should be full, plus the max width also should be full. We should also have a padding of 4 all around, and finally the margin light left should be out. So we have the information like that. So on a small screen, that's how they will look like. On a larger screen, they look the same. So yeah, first this is what we expect, because this should be on the left while we have some other information on the right. So that's working fine for us up until that point. And so now we can proceed on to the next one. So this one is going to have the following utility classes. The first one is width of full. The maximum width should also be full, plus the max, the MX should be auto. Not forget that the padding should be 4. Alright, so let's style the buttons now. So the first thing is that they should flex, they should be in a low. We should also have a bolder bottom, and the color of this bolder should be orange. So I'm going to talk about above 400. Nice. So now we can go to the specific buttons. These will be the same, like the utility classes will almost be the same. So let me just try to add on both of them. So the first thing is that the width should be a half, should take half of the space given, and the padding top bottom should be 4. And the text should be centered. It should also have a medium font, while the text is gray 700. And we should also not forget about the background, which should be for the first one, orange. So I'm going to talk about amber 400. We also want it to be a rounded top left, so I'm going to say rounded top left, and that should be large, as you can see there. And we should also talk of focus. We don't want to have that outline, so focus outline none, of course. And then for the active BG, it should be gray 200. So this one we're going to remove that, and we're also going to remove the background for the second one, so it should look like that. Alright, so my buttons are now fully styled. And so now, because they are not just buttons, they should be buttons that are working. And for our JavaScript to work, we need to add a few things to it. So just about now, let me just see what I can do. Maybe I can have this button come there. Oops. Just lost that. Just a second. Alright, so there we are. Let me try to manage this a little bit, like so. Nice. And so the name, also this name, if it comes here, it's better. So that way now, if I grab that and have it there, it's easier to understand. And also, let me just make this a little bit smaller. Alright, so the other thing that I can also add here, right, so for our JavaScript, we're going to have the on click. So this one will be equal to open tab, and this one should have event, and where that will be going is tab 1. So we are going to have the same for the second button. So I'm going to just grab that, and I'm going to have it here for our second button, but now this one will be going to tab 2. So let's just break that. Yeah, full. Yeah, so oops. Oh, sorry, something is missing here. Yeah, that one should be in quotes. Alright, so now that we have that, we can now have our JavaScript. So we're going to have it somewhere down here. So below the last one, down here, we can just come and have our JavaScript here. So let's just say script. So let's just have our our script here. So we'll of course have script. Inside that we're going to talk about the function. It's open tab, and this one should be event tab name, and so this will be going to the tab content equal to document dot get element elements by class, get element by class and name, and that will be in quotes tab content. Don't forget the semicolon there, and this one will be full. So I is equals to 0, while I is less than the tab content dot rank Alright, so this one will be tab content square brackets I dot class list dot and then this one will be of course hidden. Alright, so that one being complete like that, we can continue here and now talk about the tab links. So tab links is equals to document dot get element elements by tag name, and that will be button. So now here we're going to say for and I is equals to 0 and I is less than tab links dot rank I in. So we have an increment here, so I plus plus. And then after that we're now going to talk about the tab links. So tab links, again the square brackets I, and then the class raised dot remove. This one will be removing the active background color, so bg gray 200. And all these should be in quotes, sorry if I forget, like so. Alright, and now finally we should talk of document dot get element by ID, and we should be targeting the tab name dot class list dot remove. But so in this case we're just going to have it being hidden. And so this one will be event, and then current target class read.and. And so here we're going to talk about active. So this is about the BG color. So we can talk of the active button having a BG color of glare 200. It might not work so far because we still have this information not being styled. So when I click on this, nothing much is going to happen, but now we need to go to the content and add some details to that, so that way it will be working as we expect. So because that's required, so we'll just step back a little bit here and just try to style, and we're going to start with tab 1. And so the first thing that we're going to do is to give it a class. So it will be tab content. Just have it like that, tab content, and the padding, general padding, should be 4. And so now we can go to the H1 here. So this one, text should be large and the font should be bold, then text glare 500, or rather let's just have it like 800. Then you have the unordered list. So with unordered list, we're going to talk about the BG being white. We can also include a shadow for overflow, and overflow should be hidden on small devices. This one should be rounded MD, and then this one should have a max width of SM, and margin right left should be auto, and the margin top should be 16. So you can see the first one there. And so now we can continue to the LIs. So the LI should have the following utility classes: padding left light 4, padding top bottom 5, or small devices padding left light 6. And so now we can also style this. So the first thing is to ensure that the flex inner low and the items should be centered, and because we want a degree and the computers has to be on either side of each other, we will say justify between. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, I was expecting this to go to the light side. Okay, so for some reason that's not. Oh, sorry, we are having this in the long place. These utility classes are not for the LI, but they are for this div. Yeah, they're for this container. Sorry, like so, because this is the one that is like housing all of this, And so to make these two flex in a row and also go side by side, we need to add that utility class here. So this is where we should have the flex. Yeah, as you can see now, the flex, they just appear in a row. And so now we can talk of items being at the center, and so now we can talk of justify between. Yeah, so it should be like that. So now we can style this. So for the class, for this computer science, the text should be LG. For reading purposes, we can have it with 6. That just makes it to be a bit readable. So it just adds a line height of 1.5 frame, that's 24 pixels. And for the color, we are just going to have it as gray 500. Okay, so that's it. We now go to the paragraph tag. For the class, we're going to give it a margin top of 1, max width of 2xl. The text should be small, text glare of 500. Okay, so that's working fine. So we'll do the same for the experience. Okay, so for this one, because it's not the active one, it should be hidden by default. And so what we'll just be doing is to play around with this class in terms of applying this hidden class to either of the tabs using the JavaScript. As you can see here, we have the hidden. So this is the one that we are just using JavaScript to help us to just add it to this specific class that we hide and show upon clicking on each and every tab. So let's just style it a little bit here because it's similar to the previous one. I'm just going to do it quickly. Okay, so that is completed, but now our JavaScript for some reason is not working, so we need to fix that. We forgot to include the variables here, so we are calling them but we have not declared them. So variable tab content and tab links. Yeah, so now that is working fine. It's the spelling for the length that was a miss there. Yeah, but as you can see now, that is working as we would expect. So our JavaScript is working fine. Alright, so let's see the finished project. IT web design. So everything is working fine there, so we can now move on to the other part of this about section, and that is the skills. If I may just show you that, the skills. So let's quickly jump onto that skills part. So we are creating a container there and a child container. So here what you just need to have is the skills and the progress bar and this information. So for the heading of that specific subsection, we're going to have it in let's have it in H4 rather. And so these will be skills. We'll style it in a minute. Let's just finish the other part. So below that I'm going to have yet another div, so like that, and within this div, this is now where I'm going to have this information, so this progress bar and this. So so within this I'm going to have one more div. I don't know why it's not creating that automatically for me. Yeah, div. And so within here we're going to have span. We have that times 2. And so here we are going to have the name and the experience. So name and the name itself, the name itself should be, like in this case, the graphic design. And here we're going to say like we're going to put a value here that is going to help us to have this progress bar show us like how skilled this person is. So this is like presenting 50%. Yeah, and so here we're going to have the progress bar, and this is an SVG. I'm going to try and grab it from the project, from the finished project. I'll be sharing this with you so you can always be able to like grab that SVG from the code. So just a second as I try to get to the already finished project. Almost there. Should be portfolio, and here we are looking for the source, and this one should be index.php. So this is what we need. Just grab that, and I'm done with that, so I can even close it. So there we have it. So if you want to, of course, you're just going to duplicate this, but because this will be coming from the database, you're going to have it like this. So they'll be like, how many skills do you have, how many have you added into the database? So you're going to see them appear like that. So in this case we're just going to have one, and that's what you can be able to see over there. So I may need to change this a little bit. because this is the information that we'll be getting from the database, but in this case now we have it just being static. Yeah, so maybe I can just have it like that, and then we'll be having it coming from the database, so it is going to like be dynamic, and so that progress will be showing different it will be at a different stage depending on the value that is going to be added here. So we'll be having these values coming from the database. Alright, so that being done, now we can style them a little bit. So we just come from the very top here, so we add the classes. So for the first one is the width. At least it should be extra large. MX of auto should have a padding of 4, and for the margin top should be 16. Alright, so leather, so we don't need to style the first one. Let's just have this in the second one instead, in the shout div, you may call it so, like that. Yeah, because the skill will be styled differently. So we are now going to have the skill having these classes. So first is the size of text, that should be not that 3 but 3XL. On small devices we want the text to be a bit bigger, so we'll give it at least 5. For the color, let's talk of select 700, and the font should be bold, margin bottom 6. Not as big as I expected it to be. Oh yeah, there you go. It was maybe still compiling the CSS. Alright, so that is okay, so we can move on to the next one, which is this. So this one we're just going to give it a class of MB7, that is margin bottom of 7. For this one we're going to talk of flex, should flex in a low, and this should justify between with a PY of 1. Okay, so for this span, because they are the same, we're going to hold Alt and select the second one as well. So class text base, sorry, text base and this one we can also give it a PR of 5. Oh, sorry, we have a typo here. Yes, so that has not yet been compiled because we expect the text to be a bit whitish or gray. So let me see, that one should still compiling the CSS. Already done. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's talk of 400. Yeah, that's better. So 400. It's better. So at least it looks similar to what we have over here. So that is the about section. Let's see. That's on a smaller device. You can see it's not responsive. On a bigger screen, we expect this to be 2 columns, but for some reason it's not splitting into 2 columns, as we can see with this one. The finished project at that breakpoint should sprint to 2 columns. So that means that our grid is not working. So let's see, go back to that grid. Let's see if that is holding everything. Yeah. LG grid calls to. Oh, sorry, typo here, calls to. Okay, so there you go. Alright, so that is working as we would expect, but we have an issue with this image here. So we need to get to the image and give it a few utility classes just to ensure that it's not overflowing there. So just a second, this one should be this one should be profile. So we should add a class of width of full. For the height, we give it a screen, and for the small devices, we can talk of the height being full. Let's see. Yeah, that fixes the issue, as you can see over there. So that's the about me section. So far so good. So now the next one will be the clients section.